Nightmare Castle, Episode 17, adding an enemy spawner with options. Based on the arcade platformer, intermediate, advanced. This is from the advanced, but you should follow the intermediate and then the advanced tutorials by the new 8-bit heroes. In the tutorial, Joe teaches to write a timer code, and using that timer code with a tile it spawns enemies. I'm already using a timer, so by theory, I could just do the scripts with some edits. Regardless, I don't want to do this. I'm going to use a monster AI script to spawn an object using a similar idea or a similar method. So we ask ourselves, what options do we want for this? Maybe I want to choose the object, the action state I'm using, so I don't need to use multiple AI scripts to spawn different objects. So it could all be in one AI script. If you're doing this, maybe you want to also or separately limit the number of monsters spawned. So maybe you want to, for example, in the one script I have here, create monster use 1. I have in here gets the objects X high, Y high, stores the X high in temp A, the Y high in temp B. Oop. Transfers X into the accumulator, pushes the accumulator, creates the object. The location the object would be in the temp A for the X, temp B for the Y. Gets object number 16, which is not object 16 because it goes, 0 through 9. Then it goes A, B, C, D, E, F. Then it goes 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6. And then this is the action step that you're going to have it in. And then it does, the reverse of this, basically. Back. Now this is just in here because this is for this. This is commented out. So for example, do all that. I just wrote it in here just for an example. If you would do this, you would subtract. You would check the user screen byte, which is a variable that could have been added already. That was in an earlier episode. And then if the user screen byte isn't 0, it goes to the end of the script. If user screen byte 0, does all this. So if user screen byte not 0, it does all this. So essentially, if it's 0, jump to the end of the script. Not jump, but it's gonna go there. Decrease this. So eventually this number will equal 0 Eventually, instead of creating the object, it just goes to the end of the script. Current location for mine, being routines, my project folder, AI script, put it right here, create monster, use one. This is the one I'm currently using. It's got these parts commented out. So I'm just going to show you it creating the object. As you see here, he creates the object moves for a while, and then it just disappears. Currently, all objects, when they're moving down, they still operate on the, it follows the bounds of the bounds box. So when it's detecting down, it detects a solid, it will stop. If I was to do this, get this code active, it will limit the number it spawns. Right now, if you look, it's using the user screen byte. User screen bytes at 0. All of them are at 0. So it's not going to spawn anything. When I was setting up the AI on the monster, probably should have shown you that before, but I guess it really wasn't necessary just yet. I have it set right in here. AI behavior 6. 6. Set up in here. AI behavior 6. This monster use 1. So I would just go to here. Game. Nightmare Castle. Which is your project folder. AI. Monster use 1. That's how I set up that AI script. That's spawning that specific monster, these settings, this script right here. Increases the user screen byte. So if I have the user screen byte for that screen, for that specific stage, that level, say a 3. It'll do the spawning of the monster 3 times, whether the monster stays around or not. It does the monster 3 times, and then it stops. 1. There's 2. There's the third one. And he's not going to spawn anymore. Anyway, if you wanted it to keep spawning monsters and check that user screen byte to limit it, but maybe spawn more when they die or something, you would have to check where it destroys. And these are monster weapons. So in my game, that would be like this. So I have to look for this specific one. I go into my object collision script and my timer end script. Because if you look at this, I have it set, well, when it collides with the player, it destroys. Or when the timer runs out on this right here, destroy me, timer 10. So that's going to happen one or the other. So you have to go to those scripts, which I've also included dummy versions of them in here just to show object collisions. Right here. This is where I have the monster weapon. if it was, say, a monster, you'd have to have this like in different spots. It would be like when it does this with the player, when it does this with a player weapon, maybe, or something like that. Anyway, you would have to check all these. So what it's doing here is, and Dale Coop helped me figure this out. Object type, not object ID. So use object type X. X is in the object number is supposed to be an X right now from this and from the physics. Then you would compare it to that object number, not that object number, continue the script. If it is that object number you just created, that would happen. Now this is what happens when it is colliding with the player and destroying on collision with the player. Right here. So if, say it's not doing that and it's supposed to destroy itself after a certain time, screen edge collisions will not work with this. They will right now, but when you go to change the thing that makes them so they can actually fall through the solids, screen edge collisions won't work, so I use a timer. So the timer script looks something like this. This is in your subroutines folder. Not your project subroutines, but your actual subroutines folder. You could probably change it to be in a project folder like subroutines and not your main subroutines folder for all your projects. There's that. That makes it now so when it destroys, it's in the destroy me timer end action. It's going to, before it destroys the object, it's going to do this check. If it's this object, it does this. But if it's not this object, it does this. So it just destroys it, but it doesn't do the increase. So, this is your version though that I'm editing, so I'm not going to use that. So here will be the location on yours, subroutines, timer and scripts. Go down to that spot I just showed. Right here, destroy me. You would put these lines in there under destroy me before the destroy object. Be like right here, basically all these. So then save that, and then I'll show you that. Now essentially, because they take so long to spawn, and they don't take as long to destroy, he should make an infinite amount. Well, at least until the player dies from monster that it spawns to kill the player. In my game, I have after a certain period of time, a monster spawns and hunts down the player. Here it comes. It's gonna spawn and kill the player. So there he is. He goes and he kills the player slowly. He'll hunt you down. Anyway, so there's that. There's the script working. The base version of it. For my game, though, however, I'm not going to do that because I do already have a timer set. So eventually, maybe I will. So I'm just going to keep that commented out in my game. This is all commented out for you currently, but I just showed you how to uncomment it and do that. So then in this script, or in this text file, I just show you basically what that means. Just shows an example of, there's the do object collision. Where's that? There's an example, like I said, for you to download. Um, then I have the timer end script. This is an example of the spot in the timer end script where it gets edited. I just literally showed that too. So you could do those basically for your monster weapons. You would have to do a whole bunch more for the monsters themselves. Now, if you're doing that for both monster weapons and monsters, then you'd have to edit both of them, which is a lot more edits, a lot more work that you really, if you don't want to do it, you don't need to do it. Because what I just did, like I'm gonna show really quick, is all I did was there's no limit, and he'll just keep spawning them, but they're still gonna do essentially the same thing. So yeah, he's gonna still spawn an unlimited amount. But because I have them set to destroy eventually after a certain time, you don't ever need to worry about filling up the screen with them or slowing down the game, causing any problems. So that was you create use monster 1. And I showed how to limit the objects by using the user screen byte. Um, so now I'm going to show you how to use the create monster use 2. There's a second use for it. That's why I put use 2. It's a second use. It's an alternate. You don't want to use them together unless you do some edits. You don't have to use them together either. I would not recommend using two scripts because you could accomplish it all in one script if you really wanted to. If you were going to use multiple user screen bytes, you do something like this. User screen byte plus 1. Or some people, if you have it like that. Um, so what I recommend is we're going to use it um, they're at it saying limit there. It's supposed to say number because it's checking it against the number. And it's easier to show with the script. Use 2. Alright, so what it's doing here is it's using this user screen byte and it's saying if it's number 0, create object 16, which is the one we've been creating the vial, the flask. If not, go to this check. And then this check goes, okay, if it's number 1, create this. If it's not number 1, go to the next check. So it checked for 0 and 1. So it doesn't have a check for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, etc. to infinity. It just has 0 and 1 currently. And that's in your user screen bytes. The 0, 1 check will give you object number 12, which in my game I made it slimes. So what we're going to do is we can use that script. And in my game, an easy way to substitute one script for the other is just you change the original name on it to like say a backup. Then you change the second one, or you create a backup of the second one and then change the name of the second one. But in this case, I'm just going to change the name of the second one. So now what it's going to do is, since the user screen bytes is on 0 for that screen, it's going to create the object. The user screen bytes is on 1. See, I changed it to 1. It's going to create that slime. And slimes are going to fill up the screen and slow down the game because I never put a limit on them. So there's that. And then check this out. You can even put it on 3 or 2, 0, 2. It ain't going to create anything. Nothing at all. Because what it's doing is saying it's not 0, check here. It's not 1, check here. Oh, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5, etc. Because it's not 1, it's not 0. Just don't do anything. Just take it away and put it back. And in this instance, you wouldn't have to alter any other scripts. It would just be that. So as you see, there's no decrease in the screen user byte or anything like that. It's just a straight up, if it is this, create this. If it's not this, check this. If it's this, create this. If it's not this, check this. All over and over and over again. It's a lot of checks. But you would not want to use both scripts together. Could cause problems. If you were to use both scripts together, you'd have to change them both. You'd have to make a limit. Like I said, you'd have to use like a user screen byte for these to make this one. You have to do something like these. And then the other one, you'd have to do something like just the user screen byte. Something like that. Alright, so moving on. Alright, the much shorter part 2. It's fixing the hard-coded tile interactions. Making the falling objects ignore tile collisions. So in NestMaker 4.5, the physics script has hard-coded tile interactions with all objects, or all solid objects, under the bottom. It checks for the bottom of solid objects. Dale Coop instructed me. He said it's because this engine, 4.5, the ground collision is different from the ground collisions in previous versions. And the ground collision in this version is hard-coded. You would like your object to ignore the ground collisions when you have skip tile collision flag set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set in the physics make a check for a flag to skip the tile collisions under the object. For instance, say, for example, you were to do this for, and I'm going to show you in the physics script, in the one included, maybe you want to make those prize blocks like in Mario that you pass through as you're falling down. They got that dotted dash line cut here kind of deal thing when you're like a little kid when you're kindergarten doing that cut here thing. They got that around them in the Mario game, and they disappear, and then if you hit them, they appear, or they're just completely invisible, like the one up on level 1 in Mario that you find. Oh, spoiler, outside of the first pipe you can, spoiler, come out of. Um, that invisible one up right there. Maybe I'll make another little tidbit video, I think, on that. So in NestMaker, they actually check. So we have that prize block would be normally at 9. I have it disabled in Nightmare Castle. but your game won't have this disabled. So if you were to make, like, say, a newer prize block, and you were to use, like, not 9, not 10, but maybe, like, I don't know, 11 OB or something like that for or prize block 2, which is an invisible prize block, something like that. I'm just saying hypothetically right now. We're not doing that today. I'm just showing you this little thing. Maybe you could figure that out on your own with the help of this. Um, or with what I just basically explained. Um, so what we're going to do is up here, right after the gravity, you wanted to check that vulnerability bit, which I made the third vulnerability bit. If you watched a previous video on vulnerability bits, wow, that's a mouthful. You'll remember I made vulnerability bits for all the objects in the game, including the player, to make them invulnerable to, like, collisions, to weapons and things like that. So with that, all you have to do would be in the actions. I had the invulnerable right there. I made one for no tile collision. The third one checks for no tile collision. So you go into the flask, and in my flask, it's a monster weapon, no tile collision. That's that. So when it's in that action step, which is the only action step it has currently, no tile collision. In my script, it's right there, under the gravity. It checks. If it doesn't have it, goes there. Remember, with these checks with the bits, it's like pretty much backwards. So it's kind of actually saying, if it is that bit, to do this, but it's not. It's actually saying the opposite kind of deal. It goes to here, and then here is, oh boy, not solid. Ours is not solid. Be like right there. Does all these checks, so that's the next one. Be right here. Anyway, yeah, that would be the next one. I would jump to that one right there. Anyway, sorry I take too long on certain steps, just trying to explain things. So once I click that, it literally is that simple. It's going to, and I named it as I've shown in the other thing. I just named it no tile collision. That was right here. No tile collision. So there you go. Let's just show that real quick. It makes those flasks. The flasks fall. No tile collision. I'm going to slime's probably gonna pop up again because I never. Oh, it's defaulted. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna fix that real quick. Might as well show you. Make that 2 again. Rename that back to 1. There you go. Mine doesn't do a limit, so it doesn't even matter what number I have set. It's going to create the object. The object's going to fall. You just notice that the falling is really weird. I don't understand why the physics is weird on this. If you could help, maybe you could show me where I did something wrong maybe in this. Maybe I was supposed to put, like, some kind of check line right here for something before the LDA. Either way, yeah. Sorry the video is just going to be over 30 minutes. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you to Dale Coop for helping me out. I mean, man, without that, I was just banging my head against the wall on the whole object ID and um all that stuff, so this explains everything else. There's everything there. Please, I know it's lame, but if you drop a like, drop a subscribe on there, it really does help. Put some comments and actually just suggestions, stuff to improve my videos. Um, Thanks to everybody who has been liking and subscribing the videos, because I have over 100 subscribers now. I'm going to improve my content with um, better quality content, hopefully coming soon. Alright, sorry about all that. Maybe I'll even make another video in the next 24 hours. Have a nice weekend. Thanks.